The start of the 2009 NFL season has arrived. For the Detroit Lions, it's all about change and a fresh start. For the New Orleans Saints, they want to build on the league's highest scoring offense from last year. The NFL on Fox welcomes you to the sold-out Superdome, where the Lions have come to town to take on the Saints. Well, it is opening day, and we're all excited, along with Trent Green, Chris Myers, and in a moment, the #1 overall pick in the draft takes the position on the field for the Lions. And you, a rookie here broadcaster, fresh from the field, 15 years as an NFL quarterback in a Super Bowl ring. We welcome you. Any opening day jitters, Trent?
You know, there's not. I slept well last night, and because I think I'm prepared, I feel like I'm ready for this. And just like Matthew Stafford told us, he slept well because he's prepared.
Well, how prepared are the Lions? They don't want to talk about 0-16. They say they're a new team. 60% of the roster has changed.
You're right. And head coach Jim Schwartz told us he doesn't even bring up last season, doesn't bring up the 0-16. He says there's a whole new attitude, there's new coaches, there's new players, and they've forgotten about last year.
Well, for the Saints, we talk about their great offense led by Drew Brees, but if they want to get back to the playoffs, they put the emphasis back on defense.
And that's why they brought in new defensive coordinator Greg Williams. Jonathan Vilma said that they go hard, they go fast, and they go aggressive on the defensive side of the ball, and it's Greg Williams' job to change the culture on that side of the football.
The crowd is going crazy behind us. We'll see how they play Matthew Stafford. We'll get ready to kick things off here in New Orleans after this from the Verizon Football Zone. Glad you're with us from the Superdome. The Saints and Lions getting ready to go, and a couple of guys worth watching. They're game changers. Reggie Bush of the Saints, they hope to get him 15 to 20 touches today, Trent.
And Reggie Bush told us this is the healthiest he's been, and he attributes that to spending time in New Orleans in the offseason.
And, of course, the 6'5 receiver for the Lions, Calvin Johnson.
Coming off a great year last year, he doesn't want to just be a good receiver. He wants to be an elite receiver in this league.
And now time for the Autotrader.com Ultimate Quarterback Comparison.
Well, with Drew Brees on the Saints side of the ball, he's coming off an offensive MVP year last year, and Matthew Stafford being the first overall pick, he's looking to have big success and lead this team to some victories.
Autotrader.com, the ultimate automotive marketplace. Well, the rookie seems calm. How's the veteran Drew Brees holding up? He's fired up for opening day. The kickoff straight ahead on Fox.
Fox Sports welcomes you to the following presentation of the National Football League.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Superdome, where the Saints have won the toss. Jim Schwartz, the 43-year-old head coach, coming over from the Tennessee Titans, where he was defensive coordinator, a Georgetown graduate. A guy who is such a stickler for details. He had his team work on lining up for the national anthem, actually videotaped it, had the film crew analyze it so that the players stood properly. He said it's important to be respectful.
Yeah, Julian Peterson touched on that when we were talking last night. He actually had a little smile on his face and said, you know, that's Coach Jim Schwartz. He's very detailed, and when it comes down to every aspect of practice, all the way down to the national anthem, they videotaped the national anthem, and we're able to watch it as a team.
Wants him to start out organized, and he hopes his team can at least slow down. He said, you're not going to stop this Saint offense, but we want to slow them down. Calvin Johnson looking for an opportunity from Matthew Stafford. It's one thing to start as a rookie at 21 years old, but to start following a team that went 0-16. So Jason Hanson, who's been bothered a little bit coming off of minor surgery, is good to go, and he'll kick it off. The ageless one. Robert Meacham is deep for New Orleans, and Meacham has it from the 5. Robert Meacham to the 45 of New Orleans.
Not the way that the Detroit Lions wanted to start off.
Drew Brees, 34 touchdowns, 5,069 yards last year, just 15 short of Dan Marino's single season record. And great field position. Drew Brees saying hello to Mike Carey, the official.
A 42-yard kickoff return. And Brees is a guy who, as Sean Payton told you, Trent, he's more focused than ever.
He is. He talked about last year's numbers and the fact that Drew is such a perfectionist. He wants to win. He wants to win. And last year's numbers were great, but it's all about getting his team into the playoffs.
Reggie Bush in the backfield. First down, Brees. Quick pass complete at midfield. That's a Saints first down to Devery Henderson. And Devery Henderson, one of those weapons that Drew Brees has, which includes a healthy Marcus Colston and Jeremy Shockey.
Well, Jeremy Bushrod is getting his first career start today at left tackle and looks to be tested today by the new Lions defensive coordinator, Gunther Cunningham.
14-yard pickup from the 40, 1st and 10. Saints opening drive and on the move. Remember, no Pierre Thomas. He should play next week. Reggie Bush out as a receiver on the left side for Brees. Brees going for Reggie. And down the sideline, he hauled it in. Larry Foote was back there covering him.
And that's going to be a matchup that they'll take all day long. As soon as they motion Reggie out of the backfield, they bump Larry Foote out to cover him one-on-one. And anytime you can get a player of Reggie's ability one-on-one with a middle linebacker, that works in the Saints' favor for sure.
26-yard pickup, so a first down from 14 yards away. A great opening kickoff, a couple of big plays. We talked about Reggie Bush being one of those game changers, and Larry Foote hopes to change that in the other direction. Mike Bell in the backfield. On 1st and 10, they give it a Bell. And he's inside the 10-yard line. The Lions defense, they think the linebacker area is the area they've improved the most. Phillip Buchanan out with a neck injury from the corner spot.
And Larry Foote, who we just talked about, is one of the 8 new starters on the defense and brings the experience of 2 Super Bowl championships with him from Pittsburgh.
Of course, Julian Peterson, the speedy linebacker. Foote going from 2 Super Bowls in Pittsburgh to a winless Detroit team. That's like going from dating Beyonce to Whoopi Goldberg. But he said, no, Detroit's my home. I want to come back here and turn this franchise around. 2nd and 5. That's Reggie. Gets a couple. It'll bring up 3rd down. Reggie Bush, whether the touches are as a receiver, running back, punt returns, they want his hands on the football.
You're right, and this is one of the things that they talked about is getting Reggie Bush inside the tackles. He's been electric outside the tackles. He's been electric as a receiver. We saw him earlier on the edge against Larry Foote, but they want him to be able to run downhill, and he said he's healthy enough and can run between the tackles, and that's a point he's trying to prove.
So it's a 3rd down. This is the first time the Saints have been slowed down as Reggie Bush again splits out to the far left as a receiver for Brees. Drew Brees steps up, throws, end zone, touchdown Saints, Marcus Colston.
That's a mistake by the Lions secondary. They're able to get Colston in behind the secondary. You can see the safety. The safety had depth, and he couldn't get behind it. Right there, you can see where the safety's lined up. You can see his communication to the other linebackers. Communication to the other linebackers. He never gets back in there. The slot guy thinks he has help behind him, and Colston's able to sneak in there.
So on to kick the extra point, 45-year-old John Carney, and it's good. The Saints pick up right where they left off. Unfortunately, so do the Lions. How will the rookie respond in New Orleans?
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Southwest Airlines is ready when you are. Go to southwest.com, grab your bag, it's on.
Along with Trent Green, Chris Myers here in New Orleans. And for the Lions, there may be new players, but they're carrying around the load of that 0-16. And after that opening drive by the Saints, that's not easy to shake.
You know, and I don't believe that. I know as a player, anytime that coaches or personnel would bring up the fact, hey, we haven't had success in this house, you need to get that changed around.
Thomas Morstead, the punter, does the kickoff for New Orleans, and will handle that all day. And Aaron Brown in the end zone will down it, and the Lions will take over at the 20-yard line, where 21-year-old Matthew Stafford the #1 pick out of Georgia, beat out Dante Culpepper to win the job. Second youngest quarterback to start opening week, of course, Drew Bledsoe by 15 days.
And as he said, he feels like he's prepared. He told us that he watched 5 years of film on Greg Williams as a defensive coordinator to get ready for this game.
He was very calm last night when we spoke with him, but he didn't have the Saints players staring him in the face. Kevin Smith in the backfield. Calvin Johnson is on the right side for Stafford. And Smith carries and gets very little. So this Lions offense, they've added Bryant Johnson, the former #1 draft pick out of Penn State, as a receiver to complement the big go-to guy, Calvin Johnson.
But their main guy is Kevin Smith. He's an every down back, which you don't see a lot in the NFL anymore, and he'll be the workhorse for the Lions today.
Last year, he was 73% of their entire rushing attack. Second down 9. Stafford, quick pass complete to Bryant Johnson. It'll be third at about 5. Tracy Porter made the stop, and that's an area in the secondary. The Saints defense, they shook things up. Of course, Jonathan Vilma in the middle.
The new faces that they do have on the Saints defense are in the secondary. And Darren Sharper is the guy they brought in, a 4-time Pro Bowler, guy that they're expecting to bring leadership to that secondary.
So an early third down test. Sharper, the veteran, said we want to shake up the rookie, make things difficult for him. Pass complete, but short. Incomplete. Kevin Smith had it, lost it. It'll bring up a punting situation for the Lions.
And that was a little bit conservative on the Lions' part. I know that Matthew's not trying to make any big mistakes, especially being down in his own end. Even if he catches that ball, he's going to be short of the first down. But to get the rookie going, that was a good start for him. Just keep it simple for him.
Nick Harris, reliable punter, back to boot it, and Reggie Bush will get his hands on the football again. In all likelihood. Reggie comes up for this one, and it bounces at the 45 and goes out of bounds around the 47, 48-yard line. Once again, terrific field position for Drew Bledsoe and his high-flying offensive New Orleans.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Bud Light. With just the right taste that never fills you up, the difference is drinkability.
Jim Schwartz, background on defense, brought in Gunther Cunningham as his defensive coordinator, but Drew Brees and the Saints made it look easy. Drew going 3 for 3 on that opening drive. 49 yards passing and a touchdown. Hand off to Mike Bell. Crosses midfield.
And that's what they've told us coming into this game, is that Mike Bell was going to be the change of pace runner for him. Pierre Thomas is out of the game because of an injury, and Mike Bell is going to be the guy that pounds it in there to give Reggie a break, or have them both on the field so they can utilize both weapons.
Reggie Bush trots off. Drew Brees called Mike Bell the training camp MVP, and Pierre Thomas there watching. Mickey Loomis, the general manager of the Saints, says he'll be back next week. We're counting on it. He was their leading rusher last year. Second down. Brees. Penalty flag. Pass is complete to Colston. He has a first down at the 40-yard line.
Anytime as a quarterback you feel that you have somebody jump off sides on the defensive side of the ball, you generally try and take a shot downfield. So I was a little surprised as soon as Drew got that defensive end lean, and I thought he was going to go up top and try and get a big play.
Offside. Defense number 99 jumped into the neutral zone. Penalty is declined. The play results in a first down.
Dwayne White was the call. And Drew Brees with that 6-yard gain says we'll take that. 1st and 10 Saints just inside the 40. So Reggie Bush back in the backfield. And Brees to throw it. End zone, Meacham, touchdown Saints.
anytime you give Drew Brees that kind of time in the pocket, he's going to try and take a shot downfield. That play didn't develop the way they wanted it to. That was a deep corner route by the receiver. Drew Brees comes off the play action fake, gets everybody to bite on the hard play fake, and look at the protection that he has with the offensive line. Gives him time to slide in the pocket. This route was supposed to be a deep corner, but with that kind of time, you can make adjustments with the receiver.
Drew Brees is lighting up the Lions. 39-yard touchdown toss, and with this extra point, the Saints will have a 14-0 lead. How will the Lions respond? Can Matthew Stafford play it conservatively now? Jim Schwartz is looking for the answer.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Lowe's. For all your home improvement needs, Lowe's. Let's build something together. By Toyota, moving forward. And by FedEx, we understand your business could use a Dick Butkus pep talk.
So Robert Beacham, who was a first-round pick, was injured. Then last year tried to work his way back. He was one of the guys that Sean Payton said he's ready to explode. It's just tough to get him the football with guys like Devery Henderson and Marcus Colston and Lance Moore.
And he's one of the guys that Drew Brees brought up as well that's had a really good training camp and is expecting big things out of him this year.
So Morstead, the punter, will kick off again. That's Aaron Brown deep for the Lions, trailing 14-0. Another good kickoff, so the Lions have come back out to the 20. So you already have the pressure of being the first overall draft pick, a sizable contract, taking over a winless team, and now you're down 14-0 on the road.
Well, the thing he's got to do is he's got to keep it all in perspective. Yes, he's down 14-0. They've only had 3 plays on offense, so he's got to understand they haven't gotten into a rhythm yet offensively. They need to get a first down. They need to get a couple first downs, get the run game going, utilize that play action pass. But this is exactly what Greg Williams talked about, the Saints defensive coordinator, is getting a lead and playing with a lead.
So Kevin Smith in the backfield. Casey Fitzsimmons splits out the tight end. Stafford to throw, complete. Across the 40-yard line is Calvin Johnson, and that's the guy he wants to get the ball to.
When you've got a guy that big, you're hoping that you can throw this short pass here and you're going to be able to bounce off. Similar to what Arizona does with Anquan Bolden. It's hard for those defensive backs to come up and make a tackle on a guy that's 236 pounds.
First down after a 21-yard pickup. He averaged 17 yards a catch last year. Stafford's first completion in the NFL, a good one. Smith to the 45 of New Orleans. Kevin Smith, 63 yards shy of 1,000 last year, and he said he has to help out the rookie quarterback. He has to be there for him, not only when he gets the football, but in the huddle, around the line as well, even catching the football.
You're right, and he communicated that. He wants to be an every down back. He wants to be a person that's in there on third downs. He wants to help out Matthew in the huddle. There's been good communication by Matthew, and that's the thing that's impressed a lot of people about this rookie.
Second down from the 45. Quick pass, complete to Calvin Johnson, who powers near a first down.
I like what Scott Linehan's doing here. He's giving this guy an opportunity to get the ball out of his hands. You know, when you're down 14-0, you automatically think, well, we got to go up top. We got to get a touchdown now. But what they've done is they're trying to put together a drive. They gave him a quick pass to Calvin Johnson. They went with a run. They came to another quick pass to Calvin Johnson. This is going to be big to pick up this third down, to keep this drive going and keep this Detroit offense on the field.
3rd and 1. Terrell Smith, the former Saint, make that Jerome Felton. The fullback, who also is a tailback, has the first down. Second-year player out of Furman. And they like him as a fullback, but he's a powerful tailback when they want to use him in that area.
You're right, and Scott Linehan yesterday in the meeting had a little chuckle when we talked about him as a ball carrier, because you think of those fullbacks as just someone that's going to be a road grader for your tailback, but he's been effective carrying the ball.
Scott Linehan, the offensive coordinator, former head coach of the Rams. On first down, Stafford to throw. Pass to Kevin Smith. That's a first down inside the 35 of New Orleans. Stafford looks comfortable.
He does, and they do a good job with the play action here. You immediately think play action around midfield, defensive coordinators around the league. when offenses get near midfield, they're going to do play action and try and go deep. They do play action and throw the screen. So they had the Saints secondary and the Saint linebackers getting deep, and they dumped off the screen and were able to pick up another first down.
So from the 35-yard line, Stafford has the Lions on the move. He's going deep for Calvin Johnson and way over his head. A little more pressure that time from the Saints rush.
Quite a bit more pressure, and as you can see, Greg Williams decided to bring pressure on that. They came with a similar type of play action fake that they did on the screen. This time, with the pressure coming up, Stafford didn't have time to stand in the pocket and make the read and get that one on. He just threw it over the top of Johnson's head.
Second down and 10. And Aaron Brown has checked into the backfield. Will the Saint defense apply pressure? The pitch to Brown. And Aaron Brown down to about the 25-yard line before he ran out of bounds. That'll bring up third and short. We'll call it a 9-yard pickup. And from at the 25, an important third and short once again. Last time in the drive, they went to Jerome Felton. Crowd picking up. Smith in the backfield. Kevin Smith brought down to the backfield, and a terrific defensive play by Scott Shanley.
I think Detroit has to take 3 here. They were able to put together a drive. I know there may be some frustration on the part of fans back in Detroit, but this is what you have to do. You've got a young quarterback who just put together a nice drive, got stopped on third down. You've got to kick the field goal, get some points, get some positive things going on the Detroit sideline.
Looked like an unfriendly exchange between the offensive coordinator Linehan and the rookie quarterback. They ran it straight ahead for the first down. This will be a 47-yard field goal. Here they go wide and don't get it. Hansen, and the kick is good. Coming off knee surgery does not slow him down. The Lions are on the board in New Orleans. We're back in New Orleans, and the Lions, they talked defensively about slowing down the Saints, that we really can't stop an offense this powerful. Well, they haven't slowed them down very much. In 2 drives, Brees 5 for 5, 94 yards, a couple of touchdown tosses, and they're going to get the ball again. We'll see what kind of defensive adjustments the Lions make. Jason Hansen, at age 39, kicking to Robert Meacham, who has one of the touchdown throws from Brees. And it will be Meacham. Stutter steps and is brought down at the 17-yard line. So Brees in the offense, back in action with a 14-3 advantage here on opening day. Lions get on the board. Matthew Stafford, his offensive coordinator Scott Linehan, with his backup quarterbacks Dante Culpepper and Drew Stanton. Lions want to keep this one from going out of control. Drew Brees can put up video game-like numbers on 1st and 10. Reggie Bush in the backfield. And Reggie Bush has it. Doesn't get much. Let's check on another quarterback making his debut in purple. Kurt Menefee has the latest from Los Angeles.
Well, so far, Brett Favre, no Drew Brees. Quarterback in Minnesota, a little miscommunication with Sidney Rice here on 3rd and goal. So far, 3 seconds left in the first quarter. Favre only 10 yards on 3 of 4 passing. But more importantly, the score is tied at 3 apiece. Back to Chris and Trent. And by the way, welcome to the NFL on Fox, Trent Green.
Appreciate it, Kurt.
Brees throwing and incomplete at the 25. Good coverage on Colston, and the field position a little bit different this time for the Saint offense.
It is, and this is exactly what Detroit's defense needed. They've had this short field the first 2 drives. We've talked about New Orleans driving down and getting touchdowns, but they've been short drives. They've had the ball around midfield both times. Detroit was able to get good coverage on the kickoff, and now they put them in a 3rd and long situation, and this is exactly what you're looking for from a defensive standpoint.
We just saw a zebra sign in the New Orleans Zoo not far away from here. Can you read those signals? Now, if Drew Brees can, that might help. Reggie Bush in the backfield, 3rd down, and we got a penalty flag.
False start. Offense number 78. 5-yard penalty. It's still third down.
It's on John Stinchcomb, and false starts, the most called penalty in the NFL year after year. Offensive holding, the second most.
Yeah, that's the thing the Saints talked about. Everybody we talked to on the offensive side of the ball said that the Saints have to stop shooting themselves in the foot, whether it be with penalties or with turnovers. So they're trying to cut those down, and that's been a focus this offseason.
All right, big opportunity here for the Lions defense on 3rd and 14. Brees has time down the middle of the field and completes to Devery Henderson. Looked like he ran back. Eric King covering, and he may have kept him from getting the first down.
Once again, Drew Brees has all kinds of time in the pocket, and this long a down and distance, the receivers got to understand where the sticks are. They have to know where the first down chain is. Here he comes back, makes the catch, but he runs backwards. If he knows he's that close to the sticks, he's got to catch the ball, turn around, and dive for that first down marker.
And the coach telling him that, Trent, they needed 14, they got 11, so it gives the punter, Morstead, a little bit more room. They traded up to get Thomas Morstead in the 5th round. Strong leg. He's done a good job on kickoffs today. Dennis Northcutt, a booming kick from his 20. And Northcutt slips up out of bounds around the 35, where the Lions will have good field position.
It'll be their best field position they've had today. And so let's see where they build on the momentum from that last drive. Matthew Stafford got into a little bit of a rhythm. The offense got into a little bit of a rhythm with the running game. They were able to go down and get some points on the board, and now their defense came up with a stop for the first time today. So let's see if that momentum carries over for this offensive unit.
So after an initial 3 and out, Matthew Stafford settled in. They had a couple of 3rd and 1s, one they converted, one they could not, and settled for the field goal. Crowd firing up the defense here. Kevin Smith. And again, brought down hard by Scott Shanley.
And that's the thing they've talked about with this Saints defense. They want to be aggressive. They want to run fast. They want to stretch the field and put people sideline to sideline to where they can come up and make plays.
Jonathan Vilma in the middle of that linebacking core, a guy who didn't miss a snap all of last year. Talked about it's less X's and O's. You mean you do that, but you want to play with a lot of passion and emotion. That's the kind of defense they want this year. 2nd down, 9.5 for Stafford. Quick pass in and out of the hands of Will Heller, the tight end, so it'll bring up 3rd down.
The Saints there defensively did a good job of disguising pressure. They had their linebackers in there like they were going to shoot the gaps on defense, but they didn't. At the snap of the ball, they bailed out of there, and that's why I think Matthew got the ball out of his hands so fast. He was anticipating pressure, did a good job getting the ball out of his hands, and that's a catch that Heller's got to make.
3rd and 9 for the rookie. Stafford way over the head of Calvin Johnson. He is now 4 of 8 and 1 of 4 on 3rd down.
The Saints did a good job of bringing pressure off the backside slot. I'm not sure if that's what took Matthew to that side of the field or not, but they brought 2 nickel backs, extra defensive backs off the weak side slot, and he went strong side to Calvin, and I don't know if that was a little bit of excitement, but he didn't give much of a chance to catch that ball.
A major overthrow, even at 6'5". Calvin can't reach that one, so Nick Harris ready to boot it to Reggie Bush. Reggie will have a chance from inside his own 15. He tries to put a move on and is brought down at the 10. Excellent special teams coverage by the Lions, and Yamon Figures, a return man himself, making the play.
Yamon Figures did a great job. He had just himself and 2 blockers for Reggie Bush, and Reggie danced around a little bit too much. He didn't know how to set up his blockers for him, and by cutting one way and making the block, Yamon was able to get his feet in there and be able to slow him down so the other guys could rally and make the tackle.
So the first 2 times they touched the football, the Saint offense marched right in, stalled the last time when field position didn't favor them. What do you expect here?
Well, once again, you've got field position down inside the 15-yard line, so this is not a spot you want to be if you're a New Orleans Saint, but
Mike Bell will get the carry.
The problem they had on the last series is they had some negative plays. They had the offsides, the illegal procedure that bumped them back to 3rd and long, and so they've got to stay away from those and be able to get this out into the field goal or field position that they want to have success with.
Meacham comes into the game. Tight end David Thomas on a 2nd down at about 5 for the Saints from their own 17-yard line. Reggie Bush remains in the backfield. The Lions have yet to really apply heat or blitz. They don't here. Quick pass is complete. That's Jeremy Shockey. They'll bring up 3rd down.
I'm a little surprised by that too, Chris. I think that everybody anticipated coming in with Schwartz and Gunther Cunningham that they would try and put more pressure. It looks like they're trying to, with the dynamic passing offense that the Saints have, they're trying to do more coverage.
And certainly with a linebacker like Julian Peterson out there, you talked about Larry Foote. I mean, Peterson is known from blitzing. Even at age 31, he still has the speed to apply pressure. 5 Pro Bowls on a 3rd and 3. Brees. Time again. Pass for Colston. In and out of his hands. And nice coverage by Eric King, who started in place of Phillip Buchanan at the corner spot.
You sound like a broken record, but once again, the Lions decide not to bring pressure, to drop everybody into coverage, and to rally and make a play. And right here, receiver has a chance. It's right in Colston's hands. And then the guy comes in, makes a great play, and nice job by the Lions defense to get him off the field.
King out of Wake Forest, a free agent from Tennessee, where Jim Schwartz, as defensive coordinator under Jeff Fisher, knew a lot about what he could do. Morstead, his last punt, 54 yards. And this one, Northcutt. No fair catch. Dennis Northcutt past the punter. And run out of bounds inside the 20 of New Orleans. Chris Reese was the last man there, or Dennis Northcutt would have skipped into the end zone.
I think everybody thought he was going to make a fair catch there because the amount of hang time that they had on that ball, and there were Saints everywhere, and he took a chance of getting that catch and getting it on the run. And you know, once he split those defenders, he was able to break into the open.
10-year veteran with Jacksonville last year. And we have a penalty flag down here. Looked like it was after the play. Ineligible man downfield, and that is declined. So great field position here with 1:11 remaining in the opening quarter. Kevin Smith in the backfield for Stafford. He's going to throw it quickly inside the 10-yard line to Smith. It'll bring up 2nd down.
You almost think with this field position and the way this game has been going that with this opportunity they've got to come away with a touchdown. And I thought that showed great poise on Matthew Stafford's part on that play there. They did a play action. They did a hard play action fake trying to get one-on-one in the end zone against these DBs. But instead of forcing it, he took the check down to put the Lions into a manageable 2nd down.
Kevin Smith in the backfield on 2nd and 7. Smith gets it. You'll get nothing like it. The Saint defense, spearheaded by Roman Harper from his safety position, brings up an important 3rd down for the #1 overall pick.
That was just a poor block on the receiver's part. The one thing you cannot do is get beat inside when you have a counter play. They ran a counter play. There's an opportunity for a hole there to get into a manageable 3rd down situation. Gets beat inside.
3rd and 8. And he is going to let the clock run down and end the 1st quarter. So at the end of the opening quarter here on the NFL's kickoff weekend, Fox NFL Sunday continues. The Saints lead the Lions 14-3, but Stafford is on the move. 3rd and 8 from the 11, trailing 14-3 for the 21-year-old rookie Matthew Stafford. Stafford pass complete. And Kevin Smith gets a first down inside the 5, so it would appear. We'll see where they spot it.
The Saints defense really tries messing with Matthew Stafford here. You can see the linebackers are all jumping around. Shanley, Vilma, Fajita, they're bouncing around, anticipating, making the rookie think that they're going to put pressure on him. They drop back into coverage. Stafford once again does a good job of not forcing the ball upfield, but hitting his check down, and Kevin Smith uses his magic with his feet to get that first down.
So he is short of the first down.
Or get as close to the first down, right.
And they're going to go for it here. Do you like the call?
I do like the call. I do like the call. You talked about changing the culture. You talked about changing the attitude of the city of Detroit and the Detroit Lions. Jim Schwartz, go for it. Send a message to your team right here. Go for the first down.
They want to get the right message or get it clearly. So Stafford and the Lions need a timeout. He's 6 of 10 so far, but a big fourth down coming up here in New Orleans.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Cadillac. By Visa. Visa debit is easier than cash. More people go with Visa. And by Frost Brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer.
Along with Trent Green, Chris Myers, glad you're with us from New Orleans, where Jim Schwartz, following the timeout, sends his young quarterback on 4th and 1 to the line. Trailing 14-3. Kevin Smith is the running back. Smith on a pitch. That's Kevin Smith for a Lions touchdown.
What a great call. You had everybody bunched in the middle defensively, thinking they were going to pound it up the middle. Pound it up the middle because it's 4th and short. Everybody thinks they're going to isolate up the middle. They turn around, they do a fake to the fullback who they've ran in short down and distance before. They do the flip to Kevin Smith, and they're able to suck the defensive in and get the corner.
It's one play, one moment in the second quarter, but culture changing because when they were down 14-0, that sideline, there were not heads hanging. They didn't look like an 0-16 team. They looked like another team that got down 14-0.
You're right, and you can tell that's something that they've talked about, a culture change, an attitude change, and what a great response by the Detroit Lions.
And the scoreboard, the ultimate evaluator, as the extra point goes through, the Lions are within 4. The Brees will get the football in a moment. Saints crowd somewhat stunned after Dennis Northcutt had the 43-yard punt return. It helped set up on a 4th down run Kevin Smith. And so the Lions within 4. The crowd noisy after those first 2 opening drives for touchdowns for the Saints. They're pensive right now as the Lions kick off to Robert Beacham. Jason Hanson. 14:06 to go in the second quarter. It'll be Meacham from the goal line. And he's tripped up short of the 20. Field position again an issue for New Orleans.
Once again, you look at the first 2 drives that the Saints had on offense. They were near midfield both times, and those both resulted in touchdowns. The last 2 drives they've had have both been 3 and outs, and both times have been inside the 20-yard line. So this is a big opportunity for the Saints to reverse momentum of this game.
Has that been a defensive adjustment by Detroit or more about what New Orleans is doing offensively?
Well, I think if you look at that first 3 and out, they shot themselves in the foot by offensive penalties. The second time, the defense did a great job on 3rd down and knocking the ball out of the receiver's hands.
So a 1st and 10 with Reggie Bush in the backfield. Now he splits off to the left side for Brees. Quick pass to Heath Evans. The fullback gets near a first down. Let's get an update on some other activity with Kurt Menefee. Kurt?
Well, Chris, you know it's a Brett Favre update. His first touchdown drive as a Viking. This hooked up with Adrian Peterson. Set up an Adrian Peterson 1-yard touchdown run. Favre 5 of 6 so far in this game. And Minnesota has a 10-3 lead in the second quarter at Cleveland. Chris and Trent.
All right, thank you, Kurt and Trent. Glad to be working with you and Bill Richards there, keeping an eye on all the activity throughout the day around the league. Glad you're with us on 2nd and short. Hand off to Bell. Near a first down. The Saints said we want to run the ball more. We throw it well, but we want to run it efficiently. That's an area that we have struggled in recently.
They have, and that was an emphasis this offseason. That was one of the points that Drew Brees brought up. We talked about his numbers with him and how many yards he threw passing, and one of the first things of his response was we need to run the ball more efficiency and have that balance on offense, because in hand you keep the defense off balance.
So we have a 3rd and short here. This is an area the Saints wanted to improve upon. Heath Evans brought in, Mike Bell, and Pierre Thomas out until next week. And the handoff, knifing through is Bell for a first down.
And just like we talked about with Detroit, after having a couple of 3 and outs, getting that first down gives them some breathing room, gets them out of their part of the end zone, down there and trapped inside their own 20. It gives them some breathing room. So try and get the Saints offense moving.
Pierre Thomas, 3rd year out of Illinois, one of those great free agent moves for this organization. A sprained MCL, but inactive today. Should be fine the rest of the season. And Mike Bell, who his first year in Denver ran for over 600 yards, productive in the preseason, and the Lions jump. See if they were drawn off. An important series for the Saint offense, even if they just get a few first downs and slow things down, the momentum for Stafford and Detroit.
Offside, defense, unabated to the quarterback. 5-yard penalty is still a first down.
That's the second time that Drew Brees has used his hard count, was able to get the Detroit Lions off sides. The one time they got their own guys down in their own end of the field, but they've been able to get Detroit a couple times, trying to slow up those edge rushers and keep the pressure off in the passing game.
It was Landon Cohen who jumped. Let's see if we can hear the count. Listen to Drew Brees and see if the Lions can eavesdrop as well. Bell on 1st and 5. Powering toward another first down. He's close before the Lions swarm him.
This is always the opportunity most offensive coordinators take. If you've got a 3rd or 2nd down and very short, you usually try and do a play action fake or get everybody spread out and try and get the ball up the field to take a shot up the field.
And a little bit of a hurry up here. Brees, the handoff again to Bell. Looks like he got the first down. See, Tampa Bay is leading, Carolina behind by 10. Teams in the NFC South competing with the Saints. Number of people picking the Saints to win this year with the improved defense. We're going to get a measurement here for Drew Brees to see if the Saints picked up the first down. Drew Brees is a very intense guy, even when you sit and talk to him.
Everybody we talked with, and then Drew himself, you talk about his intensity and his preparation as they get the first down, but we're talking about Drew's intensity and his preparation. When we brought up the fact to him that some people have even called him a perfectionist, he didn't deny it.
Yeah,
his facial expression didn't change at all. He's like, yeah, so what's the problem? That's exactly what I am.
What's wrong with that? I'm always trying to be better. He was big on preparation, as most quarterbacks, but also visualization, so that when he gets out there on game day, he's seen everything before. That's his attitude.
You're right, and that's something as far as studying film during the week, preparing, trying to figure out progressions and where you're going with the ball. He does a lot of visualization, a lot of preparation, so that when it's out there, it's just second nature for him.
We'll see what he visualizes on 1st and 10 from the Saints' 42-yard line. Reggie Bush pitches back to Brees, who has time to throw it deep for Devery Henderson, and he underthrew it. It's intercepted. The Lions' Anthony Henry from his corner spot picks it off and returns it to the 25-yard line. Last year, the Lions secondary had 1 interception for the entire year. Anthony Henry equals that on the opening weekend. The Lions have the football, trailing by 4.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Chevy, Buick, GMC, and Cadillac. Put us to the test, put us up against anyone, and may the best car win.
In the bright lights of the Superdome, the Lions defense comes up with a big play. an early turnover, a little trickery. So Stafford with Kevin Smith in the backfield. They've scored 10 straight points. Smith carries across the 30-yard line. How about that last call by the Saints and the execution?
Well, the Saints tried catching them off guard. They used a flea flicker play. They tried getting isolation on the two receivers. You can see the two receivers come up. They do a hesitation. Come up here, does a little hesitation. They get the safeties to bite. What Drew does is when he steps up in the pocket, he's trying to go to the deep angle corner route to the left, and he comes back to the middle too late, and that's why the ball hung up in the air.
The interception on 2nd down 4. Saints bring pressure. Stafford gets rid of it, and incomplete. Hurried his throw. Calvin Johnson had a step.
Calvin Johnson definitely had a step on that. What made Matthew throw the ball the way he did was the pressure that the Saints were able to apply. He threw that ball earlier than he wanted to throw, and also because of the pressure, he had to throw it flatter than he wanted to throw. Instead of putting some air underneath it and letting Johnson go get it, he had to throw it flatter and just couldn't get into it.
So they've tried to get him the ball 4 times. Twice he's come up with it. He might be the go-to guy on 3rd and 4. They're going to run it with Kevin Smith, and he is not going to get the first down. Jonathan Vilma on the stop. Conservative call there.
A little bit conservative, but you know, the Saints all day have not been bringing pressure on 3rd down. They've been dropping into coverage, making
Throw those tight throws, and I think what they thought from an offensive standpoint is run the ball here, try and get the opening, and Vilma just does a great job of scraping off of his block and working to the outside to make that play.
So Reggie Bush back to return the punt of Nick Harris from the 30. They'll snap it. Harris standing at about his 16-yard line. Gets the kick away. Reggie has a chance at his 25. Heading, loses the football. The ball came out. He looked back for it. Looked like the Saints got it back. And Reggie recovering his own miscue. Let's wait for the official call. And yeah, the Saints do have it. So who would have thought that it was Dennis Northcutt that would make a difference on a punt return in a game involving Reggie Bush? But the good news for the Saints is they have the lead and they have the football. This is the day to be optimistic. Saints coming off a 500 season. You would think facing a young Lions team, but the Lions actually age-wise, at least on their roster, in the top 5 oldest teams in the NFL. On 1st down, Mike Bell near the 49-yard line, and Anthony Henry, who had the interception on defense, is the guy who made the stop. We have an injured Saints player, and we'll check on that in a moment.
Great job up front. Mike Bell attacks the hole, doesn't just see the hole, he feels the hole and bursts through it into the secondary. And anytime you can get your running back into the secondary, that's what you're trying to do as an offensive unit.
13-yard run, so 1st down, and that's Jermon Bushrod, the left tackle, who was injured. Member started for Jamal Brown, who is out for at least 6 weeks. We'll check on the injury when we return here in New Orleans. Jermon Bushrod, his first NFL start at the left tackle position, being helped off the field after the 1st down run.
And this is a scary thing for offensive linemen. You see it happen over and over again where people fall into the back of them. Unfortunately, he's gotten
field. 1st down, good field position. Saints leading 14-10. Quick pass off the hands of Delmas. Colston had it, then the rookie safety, Louis Delmas, nicknamed the Missile. Had he been able to hang on, he would have taken off.
That's the classic case of trying to run before you catch the ball. He turns his head to find where the defender is and doesn't concentrate on the ball going through his hands.
We've seen a few slippery fingers in this game today for Colston, so it brings up 2nd and 10. 2nd round draft pick, Delmas, one of the big play defenders that the Lions are counting on this year. Hand off to Bell. He's got some room and another 1st down. Slips down right at the marker, and Delmas makes sure he doesn't get more. And Bell is leaning over in pain.
That's the second time today the Saints have used that play. Drew comes back, takes a couple steps, one step, does a fake quick throw to Reggie, gets the defense flowing, and then hands the draw off. They've had success both times they've run that play.
So from the 42 of the Lions, Reggie Bush is back in after the 9-yard pickup, and it's a 3rd and 1. Brees rolls out, has time, wide open, complete to Devery Henderson for another New Orleans first down. A 13-yard gain, and Bell's coming back in.
You know, you see the way that he got up after his last run. You didn't think he'd be coming right back in the game, but it's glad to see that he's doing all right and he feels good and comes back in. Good job by the Saints on that last one. They ran with a bootleg there on 3rd and short. Teams are anticipating a power run up the middle, and Drew got out on the perimeter and made a nice throw.
Inside the 30, Bell carrying the load on the ground today. That's Meacham in motion. Bell again, this time maybe a yard. Up front, Larry Foote leading the charge. The Detroit Pershing High native from Detroit, voted defensive captain for the season. Said he was humbled by that. He thinks it's more about reputation, but wants to be a part of building something from the ground up.
Yeah, he is, and he's one of the guys that they said is pretty talkative. So sometimes your leaders are your guys that are the excitable ones in the locker room and on the field, and you know, the guys that people want to follow.
2nd down, Bell slips a tackle. Let's check in with Kurt Menefee coming up here 3rd down for another update. Kurt?
The Jets in Houston, and first-round pick Mark Sanchez has his first NFL touchdown. Doesn't come much easier than that. 30 yards to Chancey Stuckey, with the Jets on top of the Texans, 10-0 in the 2nd quarter. Back to New Orleans and Chris and Trent.
Thanks, Kurt. And Matthew Stafford, 6 of 11. His first pass in the NFL completed to Calvin Johnson. He has yet to throw a touchdown. Lions trailing 14-10 as Brees on 3rd and 4. Pass is complete to Jeremy Shockey at the 10. It'll be 1st and goal for the Saints.
Once again, I know we keep talking about this, but great pass protection for Drew Brees. It gives Jeremy a chance to get up there and work that zone. He finds a hole in between the linebackers and in front of the safety, and Drew steps up in the pocket and puts it right on his chest.
He had the sports hernia last year, still had 50 catches, missed a lot of time, and that's why Drew Brees and Sean Payton are excited. Having a healthy Jeremy Shockey and Marcus Colston, who had the injured thumb last year, they still scored more points in the NFL than anybody else. So from the 10, Brees, quick pass to Reggie Bush. Reggie powering down to the 2-3-yard line.
You can hear the response of the Saint fans. They went crazy when they see Reggie lower his shoulder and knock somebody back for a couple yards. And I know Reggie feels good about that as well, because he has the reputation of being someone that dances around. Right here, there's no dancing. He just runs through him.
So it'll bring up a 2nd and goal just beyond the 3-yard line. Chewing up the clock, keeping the ball away from Matthew Stafford. Bell remains the running back. Bell has it. Fighting hard. Louis Delmas made sure he didn't reach the end zone. It'll be a 3rd down situation. Is this 4-down territory for Brees and the Saints?
No, I don't think it is, because if you kick the field goal, you're going to be up by a touchdown. They'll put you up by 7 points. So I know there may be some response from the fans if they don't decide to go for it on 4th down, but let's see what 3rd down turns out right here. I do know that they ran the ball last down, and the Saints have told us all along that we want to work on a run game, and we've got to be more effective in the run game.
So the fullback, Keith Evans, is in. Looks like we're going to get a timeout here.
Timeout. Detroit, their 2nd. A 30-second timeout.
Lions have 1 remaining. We have 3:49 to go in the first half. Reggie Bush, 5 touches so far. Couple of runs, couple of catches, and a punt return. Jim Schwartz defense keeping him in check. Starting tomorrow, make lunchtime your new primetime. FoxSports.com. Lunch with benefits. Log on and check out original sports shows delivered to your desktop Monday through Friday, 1 Eastern, 10 Pacific. Jake Laser chats with some of the big stars of today. Chris Peasy, Brian Billick, some of the entertainment stars at foxsports.com. Lunch with benefits at 1 Eastern. And the Lions, who responded offensively, now need to respond defensively.
You're right, and Jim Schwartz showed his athleticism by running down the field. I think he ran from the 40 all the way down to the 15 in a couple of seconds because he wanted a timeout, because Detroit only had 10 players on the field, and they were able to notice that, get the timeout before the Saints were able to snap the ball.
So after leading 14-0, it's now 14-10 on 3rd and 1. Brees has it. Touchdown, Jeremy Shockey. Saw Delmas knock the ball away from Shockey afterwards, and a flag come out.
I think Detroit defense was lined up, anticipating the run, knowing that the Saints have focused on the run, and they've made an issue of they want to be able to run the ball. But you can't let the tight end sneak out that way. And you can see Julian's looking back to see who the coverage is, because he's got contained for the quarterback. That was definitely a secondary issue.
All right, there's a penalty flag.
After the score, unsportsmanlike conduct, Detroit number 26. 15-yard penalty will be assessed on the kickoff.
So a rookie mistake. It looked like Brees was, or I should say after the pass to Shockey, that Jeremy maybe was posing, not taunting, and the rookie from Western Michigan didn't like it. It's going to cost him.
I don't anticipate that going over real well on the Detroit sidelines.
That's just not necessary.
No, and that's they'll talk to him. It's not a smart thing to do. Puts him in a tough spot on this kickoff, because, you know, depending on what the Saints want to do with this kickoff, they could try an onside kick with the time left in the half. They could try a pooch, or they could just try and drill it out of the end zone. It depends on how you want to play it.
Jim Schwartz frustrated by that and by the 3rd down touchdown toss to Shockey. So it's now an 11-point Saints lead. 3:45 to go. Drew Brees is 12 of 16, more than 150 yards, 3 touchdowns, and the 1 interception.
Well, this is a great opportunity for Matthew Stafford. Here you are down 21-10 with 3:45 to go in the half. You get a chance to work on your 2-minute drill. You've got some timeouts. Work on that and move down the field and try and get some points going into the half, because as you remember, to start off the game, the Saints had the ball to start off. So I know a lot of coaches, a lot of offensive coordinators, their focus on their quarterbacks is go down and get us, whether it's even a field goal, because you know you're going to get the ball coming out in the second half. So sometimes you could get as many as 14 points or 10 points, 6 points, whatever it may be, but you're keeping the other team off the field and you're getting momentum because you know you have 2 possessions in a row.
So Stafford, who worked on the 2-minute drill and various hurry-ups, has completed just 2 of his last 6 after hitting 4 of his first 5. Back to receive for the Lions. Aaron Brown as Morstead ready to kick it off, and with the leg he showed, if he wants to, he could probably sail this thing onto Poydras Avenue. And that's about what he does. So Stafford making his debut at age 21, the #1 overall pick in the draft 20 years ago this week, September 10th, 1989. Troy Aikman out of UCLA made his rookie debut in the Superdome, the #1 pick for the Cowboys. Dallas lost the game 28-0. Troy was 17 of 35, 180 yards and a couple of interceptions, and he was sacked twice, but went on to a Hall of Fame career loaded with Super Bowl titles. And he's not a bad broadcaster either. He props Joe Buck up every NFL weekend. So a first down from the 20. Stafford to throw it and completes it around the 27-yard line to Brian Johnson. And Joe and Troy tune in for the Redskins and Giants coming up after this game. The NFL on Fox coverage continues. How will Albert Hainsworth clog the middle against Brendan Jacobs?
Well, that's the big signing. That's the one that everybody's talking about, this free agency. You talk about the economy and the teams and the collective bargaining agreement. Here, Hainsworth signs a $100 million deal.
2nd and 2. Just over 3 minutes to go in the half. That's Kevin Smith on the left side. Jonathan Vilma runs him down. It's a first down for the Lions. And Vilma, the one-time Jet, has become the leader on this Saints team.
And the reason they brought Jonathan Vilma is because of his ability to go sideline to sideline. They re-signed him this offseason, and he wanted to be back here in New Orleans to build upon what they did last year. And he was excited about the addition of Greg Williams coming in as defensive coordinator. And you can see his athleticism right there, being able to work to the sideline and make that tackle.
So 1st and 10, Kevin Smith behind Stafford. Calvin Johnson on the right side. Stafford goes down. And Jonathan Vilma right on cue.
That was timing for us. He did have time, but Vilma comes around. You can see him lined up in the middle. He works all the way around the outside. The defensive lineman, and you can see Shanley comes on a stunt inside as well. The whole defensive front was angled. Vilma works his way all the way around. Stafford hangs onto the ball because it's a slow developing play, and Vilma comes up with the sack.
So with field position a battle here, the Saints use a timeout. They have 2 remaining. Detroit has 1. That's the first sack of the game. All the passes we've had, first time the quarterback has gone down.
Yeah, and most of the throws they've made for Matthew have been quick ones, one where he's gotten the ball out of his hands, and the few occasions that he's had to hang on to the ball and try and make throws up the field, he's had the protection. Once again, on that play there, they had 2 linebackers blitzing. They had Shanley coming off the edge, coming inside, and Vilma just worked his way all the way around. When you do that type of a blitz, you've got to be able to get the ball out of your hands because that's a long developing and slow developing type blitz.
Have they done anything to take Calvin Johnson out of the picture for Matthew Stafford?
Most of the time today, they've been playing with a safety over the top. They try and bang him off the line. They try and funnel him either to the boundary or funnel him inside to where the coverage may be. But most of the time today, they've been rolling a safety over the top because you don't want to give up that big play.
So 2nd and 17. This is maybe where the Saints bring the heat on the rookie. They don't. He has time. Gets rid of the football. A low pass. And it was intended for Will Heller, and he could not hang on. It would have been a first down. So it'll bring up 3rd down.
There's a lot of pressure on Matthew, and you can see with his vision that he was trying to get to Calvin Johnson. Calvin Johnson got banged off the line, just what we talked about. The corners are banging him and funneling him into coverage. With safety coverage over the top, by the time that Calvin got out of his route, Matthew didn't have time. He went back to his tight end and wasn't able to make the throw.
Jabari Greer and Tracy Porter, the corners for the Saints defense. On 3rd and 17. Here comes the crowd. They're back in it. Stafford almost intercepted. Randall Gay in at the nickel position. Had his hands on it. It was intended for Calvin Johnson.
And you can see the Saints only bring 3 defensive pressure guys here, and they drop 8 into coverage. And this is exactly what you're trying to do with a young quarterback. You're trying to get him to force the ball up the field. It's a 3rd and long situation. You've got to think, you know what, if they're going to drop 8 into the coverage, I've got to check it down. It's okay to punt. Right there would have been devastating if they throw an interception, because now the Saints have a short field with just over 2 minutes to go. So he's going to learn from those things. He's got to learn to do it.
Reggie Bush back at the 30. The punt. Fair catch. Called for just across the 40. Let's check in down on the field with Jennifer Hammond. Hi, Jennifer.
Hey, Chris. You know, they're going to see Jermon Bushrod coming back in here. The left tackle got his knee checked out. Looks to be a little bruised. They provided some support. He'll be back in.
Thanks very much, and important because they're thin at the tackle position depth-wise. No Jamal Brown. Zach Strief, the only other tackle active today.
That is important for him to get back in the game. It's nice to see that's not a long-term injury. I think everybody that saw the replay realized there was a potential for that to be a pretty devastating either a knee or an ankle, and it's good to see that he's back on the field. And you're right, they don't have a lot of depth on that offensive line because of Jamal Brown not playing today, but it's good to see him back on the field.
So the Lions, who once trailed 14-0, battled back to get to within 4. Now they trail by 11 as Reggie Bush splits out as a receiver for Brees. Passes high, and what a grab at the 40-yard line. Lance Moore, 5'9", but climbing up the ladder.
And this may be the most comfortable part for Drew Brees. He loves the no huddle. He loves spreading out receivers and getting the ball out of his hands. And when you have receivers making catches like that, it makes it really easy for a quarterback.
20-yard pickup, and we've hit the 2-minute warning. 2 timeouts remaining for Brees and the Saints. They're hoping to pile on a little bit here. We'll continue in a moment.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Sprint. This is the NFL Now with NFL Mobile Live only from Sprint, the Now Network, official wireless service sponsor of the NFL.
Jim Schwartz said one of the ways you can judge a great quarterback is his eyes, and Drew Brees sees things well. In fact, he's hit 7 different receivers so far this afternoon. Brees 13 of 17. He's got 3 touchdowns on 1st and 10 with 2 timeouts inside the Lion 40. And that's complete. Hoping to get closer to field goal range. Reggie Bush, another touch.
Detroit does a good job of keeping him in bounds. Reggie's trying to get to the sidelines. They saddle him up and don't let him get to the boundary and let that clock tick away.
So the Saints controlling things on the scoreboard with the football. Time for Brees down the middle at the 15-yard line. That's another nice grab by Lance Moore. Brees called him my Marvin Harrison, referring to the former Colt receiver who connected with Manning for so many years in Indianapolis.
That's a nice receiver to have. As you can see, the Lions are only rushing 3 guys, and if you're going to drop 8 into coverage, you can't allow those seams.
Drew Brees will pick you apart. He's going for the back of the end zone. Shockey is back there. He hung on. Touchdown.
It's under 2 minutes, so the booth is going to have to review it. It's not going to be the coaches that challenge it. The booth is going to have to review it because it looked like he was bobbling the ball.
We'll watch his feet. 2 feet are down. He's got the football. He has to take the ball all the way to the ground, and he hung on to it. That is a catch.
But the question is, was his rear on the field? Was the rear down out of bounds as he was still bobbling the ball?
We will review the last play of the catch in the end zone with instant replay.
Jim Schwartz, such a detailed coach, he was aware how many cameras we had at this football game. Challenging plays like this. Of course, this is not his call. It's the official replay.
It's no challenge whether his feet are in bounds. It's whether or not his backside was on the ground while he was still bobbling the ball.
And Mike Pereira says you don't have to have a football move. It's the element of time. The officials will review this in real time as well as slow motion as long as he has the ball with it held. It could be one hand in his arm while those feet are down, and it would appear to be the case.
I tend to think that that last bobble, you can see him re-clutch. You can see him re-clutch as the defensive player goes by him.
So in real speed here.
But whether or not you're able to overturn it, because it's got to be conclusive to overturn it.
So live action like it happened. The official standing right there, and Jeremy Shockey is helping him out.
But where that bobble comes is at the end of the throw when the Detroit defender goes over the top of him. It's on the other side from where the official is. So if they think he had that one last bobble in there while he was sitting on the ground, it could very easily be overturned. It depends if it's conclusive or not.
And that's what Jim Schwartz was talking about was, you know, when you're at a game where you have so many more cameras, it helps you on a replay if it were up to him to challenge. Coming up, the Visa halftime report. Kurt, Terry, Howie, Michael, Jimmy, they'll have the scores, the highlights from around the league. You got Brett Favre playing today, Mark Sanchez, another rookie quarterback, Matthew Stafford. Up to date on all the highlights, action, fantasy results. The ticker gives you scores to the moment. Yeah, and Terry Bradshaw, one of those #1 draft picks who started from day one, hoping with a loss.
Well, you know, I think Matthew Stafford has handled himself very well in this game up to this point. You know, they started off, they're down 14 points. He maintains his poise, doesn't try forcing things, and does a good job.
Yeah. Hopes to improve his quarterback rating. I think Terry Bradshaw's quarterback rating that first game, actually the ratings he brings for the pregame show on the NFL on Fox are much higher. I'll put it that way. How's that?
That was a very political way to say it, because if you had actually mentioned his quarterback rating on air, he may have had a call for you.
Well, let's see. As Shockey and Schwartz are waiting, took a little longer than probably Mike Carey would have guessed for the reasons we discussed.
After review, the receiver had control with 2 feet down in the end zone for a score.
So the folks in New Orleans agree with that. And Jeremy Shockey, who didn't reach the end zone all of last year. We said he had 50 catches, bothered by that sports hernia. 2 touchdown catches today, just another go-to guy for Brees.
Well, I got a kick out of the fact he's nodding his head and laughing like, oh, yeah, I knew it.
He missed practice on Friday, and they said, was it a knee injury? And he just kind of smiled and said, I don't really talk about injuries. I'm not going to tell people where I'm hurting. Well, he's hurting the Lions right now. 4 catches for 31 yards. And with the extra point, the gap has gotten wider now. It's an 18-point difference. The Lions were down 14-0. Got back to within 4.
Just like I mentioned a couple minutes ago, the Lions are going to have an opportunity here. They have 1:10 left. They have 1 timeout left. Go down, get some points. Halftime comes, go in, regroup, make some changes. You come back out, you have the ball first on offense. Yeah, this is negative. You don't want the Saints to go down and score the way they did, but you can try and get some momentum back going into halftime knowing you have the ball coming out in the second half.
Fox's football coverage doesn't end when the games are over. You stick around. Kurt, Terry, Howie, Michael, Jimmy, exclusive interviews, extended highlights to look ahead to next week. America's #1 postgame show, the OT, presented by Lowe's, coming up right after the late games, only on Fox. So after Giants-Redskins, for those of you enjoying the Saints and Lions here. 1:10 to go. 1 timeout for the Lions. Stafford, the last time he played in the Louisiana Superdome was the Sugar Bowl when his Georgia Bulldogs beat up Hawaii. He'll be throwing a lot if the Lions are to come back here. That's Aaron Brown. And it was a punt return that ignited the Lions the last time, so maybe this kickoff return beyond the 35-yard line can give Stafford a running chance.
And that's a good opportunity right here. You look at the ball is past the 35-yard line. You want to get somewhere in the neighborhood of 25, 30 yards to have an opportunity to kick a field goal. You have just over a minute with 1 timeout to go. Matthew Stafford's going to need some of that Sugar Bowl magic to get things going here on this drive before the half.
We have an injured player, Lee Torrance, backup corner for the Saints. Usama Young did not play with the shoulder injury. He, when healthy, is pushing Darren Sharper for a starting safety spot. The Saints hope that Usama Young will be back next week. Take a look and see what happened here. So
anytime there's a pile, especially on special teams, anytime there's a pile, you have to worry. It looks like there he gets his arm trapped underneath him. His shoulder or his elbow, one of the two.
What's impressed you in watching Matthew Stafford, aside from talking to him?
I think the thing that you've seen this first half is his composure. You're in a very hostile environment here. This has been a loud crowd. There's great expectation down here in New Orleans about what this football team can do. He starts down 14 points. He maintains that poise, was able to put some drives together, hasn't had a turnover, hasn't forced things. He's gotten the ball out of his hands. They've only sacked him 1 time today. So it's been good to see. The one time he did force it was on that 3rd and long he just had the last series. But everything else he's been able to maintain some poise and composure with.
But trailing by 18.
Has 1 timeout remaining.
All right, thank you for that. How long can you afford to be patient?
Well, I don't think you want to throw a turnover here, throw a pick here, and all of a sudden the Saints get more points going into the half. So you still want to be able to move the ball and get yourself in a position to score, but you also don't want to be foolish because you've got a quick turnaround going the other way.
So just over a minute to go. From the shotgun, Stafford, 3 of his last 9. Passes behind Calvin Johnson. So that'll bring up 2nd and 10.
And that's really the first time I've seen him jittery all day. You see him in there, they bring a double blitz off the edges with their nickel back and their dime back. They bring them off the edge. They only rush the 3 interior linemen. They bring a nickel and dime blitz off the 2 slots, and I think he felt that and the pressure. I think he thought he wasn't going to have as much time as he had, and he could have stepped in there and made a nice throw because Calvin was open over the middle.
So 2nd down, 10. Stafford pass to Kevin Smith, but that's not going to get much. Clock running across the 40, and then he goes out of bounds. They'll bring up a 3rd down. Browns leading the Vikings in Favre at the half by 3. Carolina losing big.
Good job by Kevin Smith there doing an army crawl to get out of bounds because they've only got the 1 timeout. If they can get the first down here, they want to save that timeout, hopefully get into a scoring position. But the Saints did a good job there, rushing 3, dropping 8, and forcing Matthew to throw underneath.
Aaron Brown is in on what looks to be a passing situation for Matthew Stafford. Batted down at the line of scrimmage. It'll bring up a punting situation. The Saints still have time and timeouts.
The Saints bring Harper off the slot, and I think Calvin Johnson recognizes that, and their side adjustment off that weak side is to run a slant with Calvin, and that's what Matthew tried doing. He tried getting the ball out of his hands before Harper was able to get there, and they did a good job of getting their hands up and knocking that ball down.
Cedric Ellis, former #1 pick out of USC, happy about what his Trojans did to Ohio State. On the punt for Reggie Bush. Fumbles the football, and the Lions were the first ones to get there. The ball is going to belong to Detroit. Second fumble for Reggie on a return. He got the last one back. This time, Detroit with great field position.
You know, and unfortunately, Reggie is trying to do so much. There's been such great expectation for him ever since he got here, ever since he was drafted. And I think it's almost to the point where he's trying too hard. You saw in the first fumble, he left the ball hanging out there, and the ball got punched out. On this one, it was such a high kick. You would think that he was going to fair catch it because the coverage was down there.
Frustration for Reggie. Talking about USC where he played, Darnell Bing, reserve linebacker, a former Trojan for Detroit, recovered the football. So this could change things for Sean Payton. He thought he might add to his lead or run out the clock.
Well, the Lions are sitting on one more timeout, so they don't necessarily have to go for the end zone. They have an opportunity to get the ball down in there and use that timeout.
Lions jumps, penalty flag down. Looked like the left tackle position.
False start. Offense number 76. 5-yard penalty is still first down. There will not be a 10-second runoff as the clock was dead.
That's Jeff Backus from Michigan, the veteran who's never missed a game, his 129th consecutive start today.
This will be a victory for the Saints defense if they can hold the Lions to just a field goal. Knowing where the ball was turned over, keeping the Lions out of the end zone and holding them to a field goal would be a victory at this point.
Let's see what Stafford can do from the 20 with 39 seconds and one timeout. Intercepted. That's the veteran Darren Sharper. The NFL's leading active interceptor, career number 55. And a penalty flag goes down.
And that's the thing we've said about Matthew Stafford all day. He's done a good job of not forcing the ball, not trying to put the ball up there. Right there, he's got Calvin Johnson running up the seam, and he tries squeezing it in there, and there's just no reason for it at this point in time.
On a first down play, a 51-yard interception return before the penalty. A major miscue.
Unsportsmanlike conduct on Detroit. A non-player ran into an official, interfering with his ability to officiate. 15-yard penalty from the end of the play. First down.
Even Mike Carey rattled by that call. So is that a coach or somebody from the...
They said it was a player on the Detroit sideline. So my guess is after the interception, the officials are working that sideline, and if someone is too far out into the white, that's where you get tripped. And they tell the guys all the time. Every team has their get-back coaches. And
well, the description was a non-player, so you don't know if it was one of the staff, obviously. Okay. But either way, the penalty gives the Saints, puts them back where Sean Payton thought they would be, adding to their lead. They're at the 30.
And they've got one timeout.
And Reggie Bush is in the backfield. 27 seconds to go in the first half. It's quite an adventure here. Brees for the end zone. In between a couple of defenders, he had Devery Henderson It was well covered by Marcon Manuel and Louis Delmas, the safety.
You don't mind taking a shot in that situation. First down, come with a hard play fake, take a shot down the middle. You'd like to see Drew get the ball up a little bit quicker so that those secondary guys don't have a chance to break on it.
So second down with 22 seconds to go. John Carney at age 45, the field goal kicker. Not as much leg, admittedly, as he used to have. So the Saints would like to move this a little bit closer. Brees for Lance Moore, out of bounds. Third down. Penalty flag is down.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, defense number 98. 15-yard penalty, automatic. First down.
Landon Cohen called for the penalty. They're cracking down on anything forearm, towards the helmet, towards the head.
And they're taking quarterbacks and protecting them as much as possible.
Is that a good call? If you were out there, would you like that call?
Yeah,
of course you would.
Well, because he could have avoided it. There was no reason for him. He wasn't going to get a hit on the quarterback. He just had his hand up in the air to try and block the pass and just drop your hand. Instead, he tried swiping across the side of Drew's helmet, and that just doesn't make any sense.
So the team that scored more points than anybody else in the NFL from the 15-yard line with 16 seconds, picking up where they left off last year. Brees thinking end zone. And almost intercepted. Excellent coverage in the corner by William James, a backup corner on Reggie Bush.
They had this earlier where Reggie was matched up one-on-one with Larry Foote right at the beginning of the game. On this play, you got him matched up on a safety or a secondary player. And that's generally not a matchup you want. If you can get your running back on a linebacker, you take that every time. But that's just having great confidence in Reggie Bush. They know what he is as a receiver. They know what he has as ability to do. And a lot of times you don't take that matchup with a running back. But with Reggie, obviously, Drew feels comfortable with that and gave him an opportunity to make a play.
He's in there with 11 seconds to go, and Reggie Bush gets hammered hard. Stopped right there at the 15, and we may get the timeout right now. 7 seconds to set up the field goal.
This is smart. 3 points. 3 points gives them a 21-point lead. Gives them a 3-touchdown lead.
And a major swing affecting the psyche of Matthew Stafford on the interception by Darren Sharper. The Visa halftime report coming up. The guys will have scores and highlights from all around the league on kickoff weekend. Fox Sports ticker up to the second stats. How's Brett Favre doing in Cleveland? Mark Sanchez starting for the Jets. Off to a better start than Matthew Stafford. So 45-year-old John Carney went over and shook hands with Jason Hanson in the pregame warmups and said, it's good to be hanging around in this league. A couple of veterans who cannot deliver here. It's blocked by the Lions and kicked out of bounds with a tick left. So it looked like a chip shot.
Yeah, there was a breakdown in protection. You got two guys that are coming in there, getting their hands on it or have an opportunity to get their hands on it.
Looked like Dwayne White, who got the block inside, the former Buccaneer out of Louisville.
It didn't look like there was a problem with the snap, the hold, or the kick. It looked like the timing on it was fine. Just the breakdown in protection. Anytime you have a guy penetrate through the middle, it's going to cause a problem. And right there, Detroit was able to quiet this New Orleans crowd a little bit right before the half.
Yeah, after a steady flow of offense, we had our first sack and then a couple of interceptions. We've had some penalties, now a blocked kick.
We've had a crazy last 4 minutes of this half, but it's made for some exciting football, and I know that we have more to come in the second half for sure.
So with 1 second left, obviously we're going to hit the half. And Trent, where is the head of Matthew Stafford at? Because he's going to have to try and lead this Lions team back in the second half.
Well, I think the thing that Scott Linehan's going to work with him at halftime is talk about, let's come out, let's act like we're under control. We're not down by 18 points. We're under control. We've got the ball first. It's going to be important on that first series of the game to come out and get points, whether it be a field goal or a touchdown.
So Stafford goes 8 of 18, 65 yards with 1 interception at the half. The Saints have a 28-10 advantage over the Detroit Lions. Here's the Visa halftime report.